Welcome everyone to Search Engine Marketing, Pay-Per-Click or PPC Best Practices. Presented by SilverTech, we are a digital marketing agency working to redefine how businesses engage with and understand their customers. I'm your host, Ian Hughes, content strategist here at SilverTech. I write for SilverTech's blog, podcast, webinars, and today I am joined by Sean Howe, SilverTech's digital strategist, PPC expert, and now recurring visitor to the Lead to Loyal Inbound Summer School webinar series. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Yeah, good to be back.
This is the sixth and final in our series of Lead to Loyal Inbound Summer School webinars. So what is Lead to Loyal? It's about creating valuable digital experiences at each and every touch point from first interaction through repeat business. By understanding each individual customer interaction, Lead to Loyal allows businesses to navigate and optimize the customer experience better than ever before. So really, it's about building loyalty through the tactics, strategies here, SEO, SEM, web and mobile, content marketing, email marketing, social media marketing, and the topic today, PPC. The agenda today looks like this. We're going to cover planning your PPC campaign, setting up your PPC campaign, and we'll touch upon optimizing a PPC campaign once you've got it launched and up and running.
So there are multiple PPC channels, including Bing, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, just to name a few, which open the doors to prospective customers in the most targeted and measurable way possible. This webinar will focus on Google's online advertising service, though, AdWords.
In a recent Lead to Loyal webinar, we covered best practices for advertising on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And now, much in the same way that social media advertising still fits in with the inbound methodology, with PPC, you're simply optimizing your search listing to show your content to people who you think would benefit from. Therefore, you're not really marketing in a disruptive way. And also, on the matter of social media advertising versus PPC, there's an important distinction to be made. Social media is the best channel for targeting, but your audience there will lack intent to purchase. When consumers search, they're actually exhibiting intent. Sean, can you elaborate on this point, that when consumers search, they're exhibiting intent?
Yeah, definitely. So search shows that they're at least starting their buyer's journey and they're explicitly taking that action. It might just be doing research or gathering information, but it might also be a purchase as well. They might be ready to take that step too. Either way, they're one step closer to converting in some way. And this is really different than something like a social ad, like you'd mentioned, because your social ads are pushing your message rather than pulling them in with relevant content that's complementing what they're already interested in. So social ads, that might align with what a user is interested in, but search ads can match up with their intent in a way that other channels might not be able to.
Yeah, I think about myself, how I use, say, Facebook. I might go on there to kind of just scroll through my feed, see what's going on, but I'm not necessarily there to shop for anything. Though if I see an ad or something that interests me, I might click through. However, when I go to Google and I'm expressly looking for something, I'm looking for the best toothbrush or whatever, I'm that step closer, as you said, to the buyer's journey. One of the questions we ask before choosing the right social network to advertise on is your audience spending time there. And when choosing a search network to advertise on, particularly for those getting started or looking to optimize underperforming campaigns, the answer will likely be that much of your audience is spending time on Google. On this slide, you can see that as of the last time this data was made public, and this is a few years back, Google dominates worldwide search. Further, 77% of the 1.52 billion search engine users worldwide conducted a Google search at least once. Fortunately, the best practices that we'll cover, keyword research, goal setting, KPIs, etc., will prove a good foundation for advertising on any network.
PPC advertising can be a productive online lead generation machine, or it can be nothing more than a money pit, and that really depends on how it's set up and managed. So the biggest strength of PPC is that it levels the playing field for any business that's competing in the market for new customers. And that doesn't matter how big or small you are, it really levels that playing field. However, if there's no strategy, research, or management behind it, all it does is cost you money and you're going to end up in that money pit situation.
Right. The good thing, though, is there's a clear path to ensuring that you get a return on the money invested into this market of what could be hundreds, thousands, sometimes even millions, depending on your budget size, business type, of potential new customers that will view your ads each month. So let's get into it then. Let's talk about planning your PPC campaign. The first step you need to take is goal and KPI setting. As with any marketing or advertising campaign, goal setting is really important. As the advertiser, you should decide what your goal is early on, because this will determine whether or not you're able to measure the success of your campaign. Usually PPC campaign goals come down to one or two things. It's either about brand awareness and or lead generation.
Once you know what goal you're trying to reach, ask yourself how you're going to measure it. If you're interested in brand exposure, you might be primarily concerned with the number of people that are seeing your ad and brand name each day, in addition to generating an increase to the number of visitors to your website. If you're concerned with lead generation, then you will probably want to capture customer data for future follow-up or maybe even get a cold hard sale out of it.
Google offers the following commonly used marketing goals to help you get started as you're launching your PPC campaign. You can launch a campaign to buy on your website. You want somebody to visit your website, take an action on your website, for example, fill out a form, call your business, see your ad, or even visit your business.
Your goals and KPIs will determine how you set up the campaign and measure its performance. So get this part right early on. Failing to do that will make it difficult to measure your return on investment when you try and measure that later on.
The acronym SMART. It's useful to help and keep in mind as you establish your PPC advertising objectives. You need to ask yourself, is the goal specific? Is the goal measurable? Is the goal attainable? Is the goal relevant to your overall business objectives? Is the goal time-based? Do you know when it needs to be accomplished? Sean, how important is it to set up SMART goals? We talked about this too with social media advertising. It seems like a fairly basic premise, but do you ever find that you end up helping clients rewrite or define their goals based on these criteria?
Yeah, I definitely do, and this is a really important step. So I find myself focusing on this a lot with clients when they're just starting out a PPC campaign in general. I know we had talked about it with social as well, but I think it's especially important when we're talking about PPC campaigns. So like we mentioned earlier, when you don't have these goals in place, it's really difficult to measure success or to know what to test and optimize. And then, without those SMART goals too, your chance of losing or wasting money on your campaigns goes way up. So they are really important to kind of set that foundation.
I imagine that time-based one is one that's often overlooked. I mean, particularly for planning an event or something like that, you might just kind of assume that, you launch your campaign, but you want to actually really, when do you want to reach this goal by? When do you need that event filled? Or
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's also, how long do you let this run before you make changes to it as well? So figuring out what the timeline is for optimization or to test is another big one.
Yeah. So the next step, you want to make sure the foundation is there. To set up a cost-effective PPC campaign, you should start with thinking about how you are going to create this strong foundation, which will ensure efficiency and effectiveness. While some businesses opt to connect a page on their website to their ads, a specific landing page with relevant content relating to the campaign goal is the ideal.
A successful campaign includes a landing page that is relevant to your ad copy and overall messaging. When creating this landing page, ask yourself, does it use the same tone, context, keywords, and calls to action? This is important to answer because all of these factors determine how costly your ads are on a click-by-click basis. If you don't have a solid foundation, which in this case is a landing page with content that has a high degree of relevancy to the ad itself, then your costs will be much higher than they should be.
Let's talk about those ads. From Search Engine Journal, here are the character limits to keep in mind as you craft your ad copy. So that headline's got to be 25 characters maximum, first description line 35 characters, second description line 35, your display URL 35 characters maximum, and Bing has the same structure but with only one description line of 71 characters. They also share that the display URL needs to include the root domain of your site, which is what comes after the www, all the way until the .com, .org, .edu, etc. Anything after the slash can be customized and doesn't need to correspond to an actual page on the site. Sean, you're working with some pretty tight confines when crafting ad copy. Any tips that you can share to increase that click-through?
Yeah, I've actually been lucky enough to talk to some reps from Google's PPC team about this, and what they said was to follow the paid search triangle or pyramid as a good guide for your ad copy. And what this means is that to increase your click-through rates, you want to make sure you're aligning your keywords, your ad copy, and your landing page copy as much as you possibly can. So when you're able to do that, you're maximizing your chances of providing that relevant ad experience and then increase your click-through rates. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I think that triangle is really helpful to visualize. And we mentioned earlier that there are some campaigns that will come back to the website page, but from Google themselves, they're saying keywords, ad copy, and then that landing page. So you want to craft something that's specific to your entire campaign.
Exactly. So let's move on to step 3 here, which is keyword research. So keyword research is at the heart of any successful PPC campaign. Choosing the wrong keywords and using the wrong keyword match types, which we'll talk about in a little bit, can result in costs spiraling out of control. They are also what provide the relevance between the ads and the landing pages that they link to, which, as we just talked about, is also important for keeping your costs down. So when you're researching keywords, it's important to think about the context. This is a significant part of what Google ultimately wants to achieve, which is the best results for its users. So when considering context in the world of B2B and B2C sales, you should consider the customer buying cycle. What keywords a prospective customer is searching for at the beginning of their research will be drastically different from what they're searching for when they're about to make a decision.
We'll go into more detail on this topic in a bit, but customer location should also be a consideration, especially for local businesses or businesses with an international presence. The more targeted you are able to be with your keyword research and choices, the more refined your campaign will be, ultimately translating into making your advertising dollars work harder for you. So according to Google, as you're doing this keyword, you're crafting your keyword list, you want to think like a customer. And the best way to do this is to think like your customers is through your personas. So personas, as we've covered in great length over the course of our Inbound Summer School webinar series, are created through research and interviews with current customers and consumers of your content. A completed persona will have the following 5 elements: demographics, background, motivations and or influences, frustrations and or barriers, and that ideal experience. The demographics and background elements help you humanize your audience and give you an understanding of who you are marketing toward. And then it's in the motivations, influences, frustrations, barriers, and ideal experience that will yield valuable insights for PPC campaigns. So Sean, about those insights, how often do you consult an organization's personas as you're building out or optimizing a PPC campaign?
Yeah, I actually do this quite a bit at the start of campaigns. So I do this because I want to make sure that the keywords I'm bidding on are actually the ones that my target audience are using and that they're actually searching for. So one of the best things anyone can do before starting one of their own PPC campaigns is to really consult the personas that they've built out. And if they haven't done that yet, I would recommend taking that as the first step. Build out some high-level personas at least and get an understanding of what they're searching for, what they're interested in.
Sure, yeah, even those high-level personas would serve as an appropriate guide.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Better than no persona.
Better than nothing, for sure, yeah.
So in last week's webinar, the SEO, local listings, and how to be found online, we covered several best practices for conducting keyword research. We went into a little more depth there. That presentation is available over our website, SilverTech.com, for on-demand viewing at any time. The next step, creative. Now that you've set goals, you've laid the campaign foundation, completed your keyword research, time to get creative with your ad and your landing page content. Remember that you're effectively selling in the world's biggest market, and what will you say to ensure that your voice is heard above the others? What are you going to offer to visitors that click on your ads that other businesses aren't offering already?
The nature of Google's ad platform really requires you to be creative. Mm-hmm. You only have a certain number of characters to play with when you're writing your ads, like we just talked about. So you need to make sure that you deliver your message and call to action creatively and concisely. There are other advanced features that you can activate in your ads to boost engagement rates with potential visitors before they even click on your ad, which we'll get into a little bit later.
So once visitors click through to your landing page, you have a second chance to engage them and further convert them into a lead. You have a blank canvas there to do this with text, images, videos, CTAs, calls to action. They're going to compel the visitor to submit their details via a contact form or take that next step, make that purchase. Sean, landing pages are a critical next step. We've referenced it a few times here in building an effective PPC campaign. Can you briefly share some landing page best practices?
Yeah, we mentioned before that you want to make sure you're aligning your keywords and your ad copy with your landing page text. So I think that's step 1. And if you can do that, you're probably going to at least reduce some costs in terms of, your CPC. But in addition to that, I would recommend having one clear and concise call to action or conversion point on your landing page. So I end up seeing a lot of poor landing page experiences that either have too many links on them or, they have navigation that's distracting from what you actually want your users to do. So I would really recommend having that one form or that one conversion point on there to just keep things as simple as possible and be very direct about what you want people to do once they land there.
Nice. And I think, as you mentioned there, the aligning the keywords, that might sound like something that you're doing for the search engine, but it is really for the visitor too. I've searched for best toothbrush, and if I click through and you're not telling me that you have the best toothbrush,
Exactly.
I'm losing, I'm missing out there.
Yeah, even a subtle difference, you're going to get dinged by the search engines, but you're also not providing the most relevant experience to the visitor.
The next step is tracking. This is perhaps the most important part of setting up your PPC campaign. It should tie back to your goals that you established earlier, and it should be. This is essential, really, to determining whether your campaign will be successful or not. So you can navigate to the Tools option in the menu and select Conversions, and you complete the process of setting up your goal tracking. And here you can select website-based conversion actions such as lead, contact form submissions, app downloads, or phone calls originating from your campaign ads. Simply select which conversion goal is the most relevant to your campaign requirements and generate the conversion tracking code that you'll need to paste into the landing pages you wish to track. An extremely important step there. Sean, we'll get to optimization shortly, but how can you go about improving conversions?
Yeah, so this is kind of a process to be able to improve conversions from your campaigns. And Google actually gives some advice here, and they offer up the following. And the first step in this process is be tracking your success with that conversion tracking code. And that really is just a piece of code that you can place on your landing page and your thank you pages. And that will start to give you insight into how many people came to your page and actually took an action. So if you don't have the data in place, you're not going to be able to optimize. But the next step you want to do, and this might seem like an obvious one, is you want to use more specific keywords for better conversion rates. So what ends up happening is those broad search terms that might be, bringing a lot of traffic to your ads, those might not be the ones that convert at the highest rate. So if you do ones that are a little more specific, a little more detailed, you might end up seeing some more conversions come out of that than very broad or general keywords. Nice. You also want to make sure you're using negative keywords to refine your traffic, and these can really be just as important as the keywords that you're trying to rank for. So you're just using these to eliminate traffic won't be relevant to what your message is. And then finally, include prices in your ad to attract potential buyers. Or if prices aren't the most relevant to your business, you can try some other sort of unique offer that's right there in your ad copy. A lot of times it's free shipping or free consultation or something unique that sets your ad apart that will get people to be interested in your offer.
So now that you've laid the foundation, let's talk about setting up your PPC campaign. And this will talk about using the different options and settings in your AdWords account to ensure that your campaign is as targeted, as engaging as possible. So there are some key elements when setting up your PPC campaign that really can make the difference. These elements are location targeting, ad scheduling, ad extensions, and IP exclusions. The first then, location targeting. At any point in your campaign setup, it's well worth the time to go into location setup within settings to refine the geographical targeting of your ads. This will ensure your ads meet the most relevant audiences and help you avoid wasted expenditure of what can be sometimes limited daily budgets. Sean, how important is location targeting to the success of any campaign?
Yeah, this is incredibly important, and this is actually a feature that I use a lot, in particular with any of my clients who have local businesses. So Google actually gives you a lot of different options here to work with. You can target an entire state, like we see in the example here, where you're targeting all of Vermont, but you can also get a little more refined with that. You can target specific cities or towns, or you can even do radius targeting, with a specific circle of miles around a particular area as well. The other thing that I would recommend is maybe excluding certain areas that you don't want your ad to run in. So that's a lot like the negative keywords. If your message is really targeted to just Vermont residents, you're going to want to make sure you exclude some of those surrounding areas to make sure you're only getting traffic that is, relevant to your ad copy.
Nice. You have a couple of options when setting up that location targeting. First, you can choose where your users are located, the physical location. And this can be based on the IP address, the unique number assigned by the internet service providers to each computer connected to the internet, or the actual device location determined by GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth.
Or you can choose locations your users showed interest in. That's terms used in searches that indicate a location. That could be past searches that indicated a location of interest. Could be a person's past physical location, or it could even be searches on Google Maps or Google Maps for mobile, especially if someone sets a custom location for Google search results.
Next step is ad scheduling. So there can be times in the day when your target audience are most likely to be viewing your ads. An example comes from a campaign that we recently worked on for a client in higher education. Our research showed that the target audience, which in this case was teachers, was most active in the mornings before classes start, lunch times, and in the early evenings. It may make sense for some businesses, especially B2C companies, to adopt an always-on approach to their campaigns, but it also makes sense for other businesses to target their ads to established times of the day that their target audience is most active online. This, again, assists in minimizing unnecessary expenditure of that precious ad budget.
Within the campaign settings area, you can navigate to the ad schedule section and customize your schedule by adding the day and hours of the day that you would like your campaign on. If you're unsure of the most common days or times that your target audience is active online, then you can leave this setting for the first month until you have enough data to inform any adjustments you want to make. This data can be gathered from the Dimensions menu tab.
Let's talk about ad extensions, kind of the third step here in setting up. Ad extensions are great enhancements to the look and messaging of your ad that can be added without taking away from the already limited character count that you have. Not only can they improve the visibility of ads, taking precedence in search results over ads that don't use them, they can also help improve the campaign return if used correctly. The additional information can actually help increase click-through rates, which means more clicks, more visitors. Sean, any success in optimizing campaigns with extensions?
Yeah, I have seen some success with this, and this is something Google actually highly recommends you do on all of your ads. And in particular, I have seen success with the call extension. So that's really just a number underneath your ad that people can immediately click on. It's great for mobile searches because it's the nice and easy, just tap on the number and immediately call. So you can really increase conversions that way. It takes away a click. They don't even have to go to your landing page to be able to convert. So I would really recommend using the extensions.
Nice. Sean mentioned the call extension. Here are a few others. Site links. You can add links to other key pages on your website to help your audience find what they're looking for and drive engagement with your brand. Down the bottom, you can see location extensions. Here you can show your audience the nearest location of your business, phone number, and a map marker to offer directions.
Yeah, then this other one, we have app extensions as well. And this link appears below your ad, and it can direct your audience to the App Store so they can download your business's app. And then also review extensions as well. So that's, your best quoted or paraphrased third-party review, and you can have that right underneath your ad as well.
Call-out extensions. Call-outs are additional snippets of information that you can add about your product or offer, another great way of increasing CTRs. And then there's the structured snippet extension. Activating this allows Google to automatically show additional details about your landing page or website content.
So let's get into step 4 here, which is IP exclusions. So IP exclusions are a simple yet effective setting to activate in your campaign setup. It's used to limit ads showing to networks that aren't likely to be used by your potential customers, which can include employees within your business or organization that may curiously click on an ad and subsequently waste part of your precious daily ad spend. However, it can also be used to prevent competitors from clicking your ads and maliciously depleting your ad budget for the day so that their own ads can gain more exposure. I know this might sound like an unethical or far-fetched scenario, but it does happen, and I have seen it happen as well.
The final section here of our presentation today, we're going to talk about optimizing your PPC campaign. We might end up going through this section a bit quickly here to be respectful of your time, but we have included in the handout section a white paper that does go into this area in much more detail.
Yeah, so you may have been running PPC campaigns on Google with less success than you would have liked, despite putting the time into the planning and setting up everything correctly. And you may be getting a number of conversions, but are you getting enough to warrant that time and financial investment? So don't make any rash decisions just yet. There's a lot of steps that you can do to optimize here. We are firm believers that every business, and that's both B2B and B2C, can benefit and enjoy a return on investment with PPC advertising. It's true that setting up and optimizing a campaign to maximize ROI can be time-consuming and resource-intensive depending on the size of your business or even your campaign. So spending time to refine campaign performance can be intimidating, but you have a few different options with this, Ian.
Yeah, you can see here, first option, turn off that campaign. Of course, we don't recommend this though. PPC advertising, as Sean mentioned, it's a great opportunity when set up correctly. The second option is hire a digital or SEM agency. SilverTech here, we have a Google certified team that's actively managing client PPC campaigns to increase sales, generate brand exposure, most importantly, generate a positive ROI. And then the third is you can implement some of Google's AdWords automated campaign optimization functions, which enable you to cut the time you have to invest in managing aspects of the campaign to help you build on that positive ROI. So let's quickly just discuss a few of these automated campaign functions Google offers.
Yeah, so the first one that we're going to talk about is just experiments. So experiments are a great semi-automated way to test a variety of campaign elements that relate to overall performance and return on investment. So the majority of the time spent with experiments is in that setup and analysis phase. And those are used to refine the campaign and improve your overall performance. So experiments are set up in the settings section of the AdWords platform, and you can begin by adding a new experiment and selecting the appropriate parameters, which include a control and experiment split, and a start and end date. Once you've done that, you can then make the decision to either experiment with your keywords, your ad copy, your landing pages, or you can really do a combination of all of them. Effective experiments will have a control ad, keyword or landing page, and an experimental ad, keyword or landing page. This is what produces the data that you will actually use to refine and optimize your campaign.
Nice, so like A/B testing almost.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Yep.
Once you're in that settings section of your AdWords account here, be sure to assign each keyword or ad or landing page as a control, as an experiment only. As Sean mentioned, here you can see some screenshots. And once your experiment has enough reliable performance data, you can then analyze to see if it's the keywords, ad copy, or landing pages that are working better and increasing those click-through rates. This understanding can be used to make data-backed changes to your campaign and help drive those higher success rates we're all looking for.
So the other optimization that you can do is weighting. So weighting is another campaign tool that can be used, to help your conversion goals. So say you want to run a campaign targeting all of the US. However, you want to make sure that you acquire more visitors from the New York, Boston, and Chicago areas. This is where weighting would come in. So in this example, you would just navigate to the location section in the settings area and set up bid adjustments, which are used to increase the amount you're willing to spend on your keywords in specific areas. So for example, you might want to increase your keyword bids by 30% over what you're already spending for anyone who's searching in those particular geographic areas.
Let's quickly get into keyword bid strategy. As you can see in the drop-down, you have the option to choose from 6 keyword bid strategies. Enhanced cost per click, that's the ECPC. Target search page location, target cost per acquisition, CPA, target outranking share, maximize clicks, target return on ad spending, ROAS. Again, in the handout section, our white paper does go into more detail here. But Sean, quickly, how important is the right keyword bid strategy when it comes to keeping costs down?
Yeah, this is really important to do because you might be getting a lot of conversions, but if you are spending too much to get those conversions, it might not be an efficient spend for your business. So, that's where something like target cost per acquisition could come in, where you only want to get traffic that is going to convert at an efficient rate. So I've seen some success using that one before. It really starts to get your budgets down, but also providing you conversions that are affordable to you.
As you can see, as we've gone through today, there's far more to a PPC campaign than simply writing a few ads and choosing a daily budget and keyword bid limits. It's only really the beginning of campaign success. So it kind of brings you down to the question of between automation, some of those tools we just mentioned, or hiring an SEM agency. Sean, what benefits can a partner offer in optimizing PPC campaigns?
Yeah, so I think there's a few different ones here. The first one's time. It takes a lot of time and effort to be managing these campaigns and to stay on top of them and do all of the testing and optimization that needs to happen to make them successful. So if you hand that over to an agency, they can handle all of that. Mm-hmm. And then on their end as well, they've seen a lot of this stuff before. So they can skip right past the things that they know don't work and get right to the things that are going to make these campaigns really work well. So it's that expertise that they bring on top of the time savings as well.
And just thinking too, and myself, and I've worked as a marketer at different organizations in the past, some of my strengths are kind of in content creation and, running email campaigns, that sort of thing. PPC is like its own world. It's difficult to be kind of good at all areas of marketing and also be excellent at PPC.
Exactly. And it really does take someone dedicating, hours to this to make sure it's working to its highest level. So if you're better at doing some of those other activities, spend your time there and, pass this off to somebody else who is really good at PPC advertising.
And another point too to mention that we mentioned earlier is Google certified too.
Absolutely, yep.
So that brings us to the end of our presentation. Just want to quickly review the sections and the main points that we touched upon in each of those. First, when planning your PPC campaign, make sure you set clear goals and KPIs, make sure the foundation is there, conduct keyword research, and set yourself apart with creative, and of course, set up your goal tracking.
And when you're actually setting up your PPC campaign, go after the relevant audiences with location targeting. Schedule your ad when your audience is online. Use ad extensions to enhance your message, and use IP exclusions to avoid wasting ad spend.
And then when optimizing your PPC campaign once it's launched, use those experiments to test a variety of different campaign elements. Use weighting to adjust and optimize your targeting, and then use flexible keyword bid strategies if you can. We are drawing to a close. I just do want to see if we can address a couple of questions that we got along the way. Sean, here's one. What is one of the most important metrics to look at when trying to optimize your campaign?
Yeah, so, obviously you want to look at all of the big metrics like clicks and click-through rate and budget, cost per conversion and everything like that. But one of the ones that I really like to look at is percentage of impressions lost due to budget. Now, this is an interesting one because it's really telling you exactly what you need to do to optimize your campaign. So I've looked at a lot of my client campaigns, and I've noticed that a large chunk of their total potential impressions are being lost because they're just not spending enough or they're not bidding enough. So that kind of directs me to optimize the campaign right there. So this is actually a custom field that you can add on to your reports in Google AdWords. So I would recommend checking that one out.
Excellent, thank you. And just one last question. I just wanted to throw this out there. Should you bid on your own brand name or keywords? I see this a lot when I Google a specific name and the ad comes up for that. What is that a smart strategy? So
this is something that I've actually dealt with directly with some of my clients where they had the same exact question of should we be bidding on our own branded keyword? And the answer is it depends. Usually if you are already ranking first organically for your particular brand and there's not a lot of competition there, I would say maybe you don't have to. However, in the case of one of my clients, we realized that even though they were ranking first organically, some of their competitors had been buying up their branded keyword and were actually ranking in that first ad spot over them. So if that's the case, I would recommend turning on that branded search and trying to rank for those branded search keywords. But it really does depend on your situation and kind of the competitive environment you might be in.
Nice. I imagine, too, that's a campaign that you want to keep a very close eye on to make sure you're not spending too much on your own.
And the good thing about those branded search terms is that they're usually pretty affordable because not a lot of people are bidding on them. So with a limited spend, you can guarantee that your brand is showing up first, which is great.
Yeah, nice. So that draws us to the conclusion today. I want to thank everybody for staying on and for joining us if you've been on any of our previous Lead to Loyal Inbound Summer School webinars. Thank you so much. Once again, on behalf of SilverTech, I'm Ian, Content Strategist. I was joined by
Sean Howe, Digital Strategist.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.